All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for some real people out there, just like you, just like me. Of course, the intersection of music and culture and politics. Not really, but this video, Paul Stanley is back and he's got to answer questions again. He has to answer the question because he said some stuff that was true, and now he's going to work for the rest of his career apologizing or clarifying. All right, Revolution Saints, this is terrific. Eagle Flight, Jeff Pilson, Dean Castronovo, and the brilliant Joel Hoekstra. What a great guitar player that guy is. So prior to the month of June, which by the way is Alzheimer's and Dementia Awareness Month, alz.org, make a donation, people. We've got stuff in the food, the air, the water. Then you've got the medical industrial complex. There's not a lot of help for people with Alzheimer's. And rather than focusing on this bizarre culture war, which will zap all your energy and just take it right out, put something back in. All right, Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, June, okay? It's a good way to kind of reclaim June and say, yeah, I'm all in this month. I'm definitely going to help somebody who certainly needs our thoughts, our prayers, and our financial support. What's interesting is a lot of people don't see these end-of-life issues anymore the way they used to, because people are often forgotten about. If you notice during the whole COVID thing, people toward the end of their lives, those were the people that were most forgotten about during the pandemic, right? People who weren't allowed to visit their loved ones. It's incomprehensible what happened. So in any event, Alzheimer's, it's a real big deal. Dementia, it's not getting any better, it's getting worse. So check it out, alz.org. Okay, so earlier this week, TMZ apparently interviewed Paul Stanley, and they're trying to pick his brain because of the stuff that he was saying last month about kids, and maybe kids shouldn't get certain surgeries. And even Dee Snider came out and said, yeah, I'm glad my parents didn't do anything rash. Well, hey, Dee, there wasn't anything rash to do back in the 70s or 80s. They would have taken you to the mental hospital. You would have been taken to Bellevue if you had said to somebody, yeah, I think my kid needs a surgery to fix him because he's broken. Yeah, so Dee, your parents, they couldn't have even made that choice. Paul Stanley, again, said some common sense things, and then he recanted. Well, in this latest article, it's kind of unclear, almost like Paul Stanley is trying to walk a tightrope. It's very interesting. This one paragraph, I think, is where Paul does a very political move here. He says a lot, and I'm not sure he says anything. He says everybody has a right to be who they are. Life's too short to be anyone else. Okay, that's pretty clear. Everyone should celebrate who they are. When you mean celebration, are you talking giant parade where weird things happen? Or just kind of a personal acknowledgement of, yeah, I'm glad about who I am, so I'm going to celebrate today. I'm going to go out and buy some Bud Light today. That's how I'm going to celebrate the fact that I like the person that I have become. So far, the libertarian side of me is okay with all of these things. He goes on to say, be proud of who you are as long as it's something worth being proud of. Whoa, okay. So, Paul is almost taking a little swipe here. Maybe he's saying not all of this stuff that people are proud of is worth being proud of. Interesting. But he clarifies here, of course, what's the criteria for being proud is being a good person, not transgender or any other gender. Huh. So to me, sounds like Paul is starting to go back in the other direction now. I mean, who's advising this guy? Doesn't he have somebody who is basically, screening what he can say and what he can't say? Because that sounds like, hey, I don't really care what gender you are. I kind of just care if you're a good person. And there it is. There is the live and let live, coexist statement that most of us were okay with 15 years ago. So that kind of sounds like the live and let live thing, right? So that's good. That's better. That's better than, hey, you've got to celebrate, you've got to endorse. Remember when they used to talk about tolerance all the time? And I would say, okay, when you tolerate, think of it this way, when you tolerate something, you're putting up with it. You don't agree with it, but you're tolerant. And then they said, well, I don't know if that's enough. You've got to like what we're doing. You've got to endorse it. And that's why, like, you get the LA Dodgers and you get all these things going on now. People are like, no, you don't just endorse it. Now you've got to celebrate it. And I'm like, we went from tolerance to celebration. I mean, honestly, if we were just dealing with consenting adults, I wouldn't care. This wouldn't be, most people would be like, you know what, I'm not into that, but they're an adult. They can make their own decisions. This all started because Paul Stanley weighed in on what they're doing to kids. And this is the issue around the country. And what's crazy is people say, well, they're banning books. Really? They're trying to keep inappropriate books away from little kids. That's what they're doing. If you're an adult and you want to read that smut, go ahead. There's no law banning you from doing that. It's like you're fighting one straw man argument after another. Well, you want to ban books? No, I don't want to ban books. Well, you want to stop drag stuff? No, I don't want little kids to see this. When did this be okay for little kids to see this stuff? Yeah. And you know what? It's not just, I mean, they got some guy, I think, at Disneyland who it's a guy, and he's got little kids. He's dressed up like a woman. He's got a mustache and a beard. How attractive is that for a little kid? How is that attractive to any human being? What is going on? And then when you protest it or you say, I don't think this is appropriate for kids, well, you're some type of phobe. Okay. I mean, if this is where we're going, if people aren't willing to stand up to protect kids and to protect their innocence, that's what this is about. Kids do not need this. They don't have opinions or feelings. You're creating something that didn't exist, and I guarantee you it's going to have long-term problems. You're convincing kids that they were born the wrong way, and you're undermining the whole idea of God, a creator, too, because you're saying, well, God made this huge mistake. Good thing we're here to fix it. Good thing there's a doctor that's about to make a couple $100,000 at least to fix your problem that God created. That's crazy talk. It's nuts. And I really do believe, actually, that this could be the beginning of the end of Western civilization if it just continues and people don't protest and they don't just say, no, this is wrong. I mean, you can do what you want as an adult, but get away from these kids, man. You can't do this to kids. And to me here, Paul Stanley almost seems like he's going back in the other direction now when he talks about what's the criteria for being proud. What is that? It's being a good person. And it doesn't matter what gender you are. And this whole idea of reassignment, people call it reassignment. Where are you being reassigned to? I mean, you were already assigned at birth. And my view is that God didn't make a mistake. We did. Society is making the mistake. God didn't make a mistake. This was all self-evident and clear, like, I don't know, a half hour ago. But now it's crazy. And it's everywhere. You wanted to know what was after the thing-demic. This is it. The next big thing is right now, right here, with this confusion. Paul Stanley in this article basically just says stuff that we already know. And they reprint all of that crazy stuff he said about kids, where he says, hey, if a kid likes to dress up, you don't say, hey, let's take him for surgery. Seriously, that's where this goes. And I don't know how that's compassionate. I think it's cruel. It's barbaric. It lacks proportion to what the issue is. And it shows that parents are lost. If these are parents, they're lost human beings. Not just spiritually lost, but they're just lost. Even more so than that. They have no discernment. And so I give Paul Stanley some credit for trying to be a peacemaker. I get that there is a libertarian view on this that says, hey, if you're an adult, and again, I'm there. But I may personally think, what you're doing is really stupid, but you have a right to do it when you're an adult. All right. But now it's like they're trying to lower the age of consent on everything, and kids don't have the capability to make those decisions at that age. It's just, no, I was a kid. I was a teenager. I was a 20-year-old something. Yeah, I can tell you, it's the level of immaturity and the lack of life experience. You're not ready to make these decisions. And people forcing you into these decisions, it reminds me of something else when people are forced to do something against their will. And I'm not going to say the word, but it starts with an R and ends in APE. All right. So in any event, I didn't want to be all dramatic here, but this is a crisis. And if people don't look at it as a crisis, if they look at it as just a little blip on the cultural landscape, they're not seeing this is like an iceberg and this is the Titanic. Other countries see this too. And they're like, what's going on over there? We're weak. We're weak spiritually. We're weak culturally, and we're getting weaker all the time. And we need to fix this. And the only way we fix it is we have to speak up and push back. And boycotts are pretty good, by the way. Don't go to Target. Don't drink Bud Light. These aren't difficult things to avoid. They're easy to avoid. All right. I've babbled for too long. I get fired up about these issues, and I'm still not feeling all that well. So I'm going to go grab some Dayquil after this. Revolution Saints, Eagle Flight. Great album. Modern Retro Radio, modernretrofm.com. They're playing new stuff by classic artists. You got to check it out at modernretrofm.com. I'm Dave. Thanks. Talk to you soon.